This episode of Unboxed was made possible thanks to viewers like you. Thank you. It's hard to believe it's been over 20 years since Square Enix truly graced a Nintendo home console. Sure, I've had the odd gem in things like Bravely Default and the remakes of Dragon Quest, but those were on handheld, and nothing compared to the Nintendo Square heyday of the early 90s, which ended with titles like Chrono Trigger and the much sought after in English Secret of Mana 2. I say this because Octopath Traveler presents itself like the last 2 decades never happened, with its amazingly detailed sprite design and intricate story. Or rather stories, as there are 8 characters to pick from as you begin the game. It's important who you pick, as I'll explain later. Each character has their own story to tell, each with separate desires as they set out into the world of Osteria. These goals range from revenge to self-discovery to just getting drunk at the nearest tavern. Be prepared to sit through incredibly lengthy story scenes though, and because there are 8, you'll be spending a lot of time mashing the A button with no option for an auto feature. That being said, the design of the game is absolutely breathtaking. The retro design sprites with a 2.5D perspective is a real treat for the old school RPG player who wants to relive the golden era. It's also helped by modern advancements that allow for lighting, depth, and even realistic looking water to add to the world. The combat of this game is probably one of the more complex systems for a JRPG I have seen in a while, taking influences from titles like Grandia and the team's earlier work in Bravely Default. All enemies feature a certain number of shield points, and it's up to you to break their stands with weapons they are weak to. This is joined with every turn having a specific order of when combatants can fight. This leads to some quite in-depth strategies, as well as when to utilize boost. This allows you to attack up to 4 times in a row, and it's one of the better aspects of the game, seeing your character just wreck everything on screen. If lengthy introductions don't slow you down, then the first few hours will. The game itself really doesn't pick up until you recruit your second and third character, which, now that I think about it, I haven't even introduced yet. I pick first the warrior Harnett, who speaks in Old English. Then there's Cyrus, the scholar, who's incredibly intelligent, but can't seem to notice one of his students would prefer private lessons. The travelling merchant Tressa, the old knight Ulberich, and the erotic dancer Primrose, which brings on a word I've never heard in a Squeenix game.
You're nothing but a stupid whore!
I will admit, the English audio doesn't feel up to scratch. I'm sure everyone did their best, but every character continues delivering the same lines during battle, which can get tedious. Thankfully, for all those JRPG purists, the Japanese audio is included. Every character also has specific actions they can perform to the NPCs of the vast world, whether it's a simple inquiry that can uncover hidden objects or get you a discount at the inn, purchasing items from people, or if you can't be asked, just nicking them, to just picking fights with old men. Failure to succeed in any of these can affect your reputation in that town. Only a game like this could have you beat up an old man and not lose reputation. This is where a few of the cracks begin to show. It's nothing like the rates of enemy encounters, which are pretty fair. It's things like when it comes to your team and their loadouts. Let's say you want to give your character a stronger sword, but it's currently equipped by someone not in your active party. You can't just take it from them, instead you have to go back to the nearest tavern and then unequip and then re-equip it on the member you want. But that's nothing compared to the biggest flaw. I mentioned earlier how your first choice is important. This is because whoever you pick first is your game's main protagonist and is locked in your party for the length of the game. It's even worse when continuing other characters' chapters, so you have both your main and chapter protagonists locked in, leaving only 2 open slots, which can really affect strategy. It doesn't help that certain characters are just better than others, so while you level up your swordsman and healer, the poor dancer and apothecarist end up abandoned at the tavern.
Lucky bastards. Despite those issues, Octopath Traveler is a real love letter to the JRPGs of yesteryear, featuring 8 different stories, each with major, overarching chapters that send you all across the world, no doubt lasting you many hours. The game also can go from being a breeze, taking down everything in your path in a matter of moments, to winding up in an area that wrecks your ass in 5 seconds. But even if one chapter is proving difficult, you can always pack up and travel to another character's chapter and continue their story, so you never really feel stuck for long. Plus, there's just so much to do, with every town brimming with life, filled with side quests, and admittedly people to rob. I wasn't able to put it down the first weekend it came out. Hell, I lost a complete day playing it. If you're a fan of those old school RPG titles like Romancing Saga, Secret of Mana, Chrono Trigger, and of course the OG Final Fantasies, you will fall in love with Octopath Traveler. It's great to see you back, Square. And with that, I'm Enigma, and if you'll excuse me, I've been up for 48 hours playing this game and I'm just